When did your best friend, roommate's helpfulness turn into suffocating dread? I literally just found out the guy I live with, Elijah, is possibly, maybe, definitely stalking me. And I'm sitting here in the laundry room of my building at 4:03 a.m. trying to figure out if I'm having a psychotic break or if the guy who insists he's my best friend is actually a grade A menace to society. I don't even know where to start with this dumpster fire, honestly. BH, I feel like I need to write this all out, word by word, so I can see it. Because right now it just feels like the world's worst fever dream fueled by Talenti gelato and 4 days of stress insomnia. Okay, let's start with the basics. My name is Heather Brown, 20F. I moved into this apartment, 3B, 6 months ago right after I turned 20. I was fresh out of my second year of college, taking a gap year, trying to figure out my whole identity thing. I'm realizing I'm definitely not straight, which is a whole other layer of anxiety, and I needed a cheap place fast. Enter Elijah Gray, 25M. I met Elijah through a mutual acquaintance from college. He seemed chill, super responsible, worked some weird tech job on the 5th floor downtown, and had this air of perpetual helpfulness that, looking back now, was absolutely suffocating. Past me was such an idiot, I swear. He seemed like the perfect roommate, split the $1,247 rent exactly down the middle, always paid his half of the $43.67 grocery bill right away via Zelle, and even brought home Ben and Jerry sometimes. It was perfect. Spoiler alert, it was not perfect. The first red flag, and I know this sounds small, but trust me, these things add up, was the constant checking in. Not just casual, hey, are you home? Texts. I mean, if I was late coming back from my shift at the coffee shop on Main Street, even by 5 minutes, my iPhone 14 would be absolutely blowing up. One time, I had a flat tire on my beat-up 2018 Honda Civic, Tuesday at 11:47 a.m., and my battery was dying. It was at 3%. I didn't respond to his first text immediately because I was dealing with AAA. When I finally got my phone charged enough to look, I had 27 missed calls in 1 hour. 27. I showed the screen to my friend Maya, 20F, and she was like, "Girl, that's not a friend, that's a warden." I laughed it off. It's like, "No, NGL, he's a little intense, but he's just worried about the lease. You know how he is, super organized." Elijah's thing is control. I'm seeing that now. He had this whole system for the apartment. We had to log our food in a shared Google Doc. We had a chore chart that he laminated, and he insisted on controlling the Ring doorbell and the Spotify family plan. I gave him the benefit of the doubt, thinking, okay, he's just type A, but then the boundaries started getting fuzzy. He started making comments about my clothes. I had an interview a few weeks ago, and I put on a semi-professional outfit, and he stood in the doorway of my room and said, "Are you sure you want to go out like that? It's kind of loud, Heather. People might get the wrong idea." I felt my stomach drop a little, but I just shrugged and left. Then the money started getting weird. Had a joint utilities bill, huge mistake, I know, and I noticed we were getting charged crazy overdraft fees like 4 months straight. I checked the joint account, and there were unexplained $200 withdrawals every 2 weeks. When I asked him about it, he just got really defensive. I remember that conversation perfectly. We were in the kitchen, I was eating leftover Chipotle, and he was scrubbing a spot on the counter that I swear wasn't there. "Hey Elijah, can we talk about the power bill? And these fees? We got hit with another $347 bill this month, and there's an $85 plumber charge I don't recognize." He didn't look up. He just kept scrubbing. "Elijah, it's fine, I took care of it. Don't worry your pretty little head about it." "No, I'm worrying about it because I'm pretty sure we paid an $85 plumber charge for the sink last week, and you said you were going to stop those $200 withdrawals." Elijah finally looked at me. His expression was flat. "Elijah, look, I needed that money for something important, personal stuff. I'm going through a lot right now. I just need you to trust me. After all I've done for you, helping you get this apartment, splitting the IKEA furniture, letting you use my Hulu login, you're going to nickel and dime me over $200. That was the manipulation tactic. The after all I've done for you." I felt myself fold immediately. I hate conflict. I truly hate it, me. "Okay, fine, but please just tell me next time. I can't afford another overdraft fee. My credit is already fragile." He just nodded and went back to scrubbing. I walked away feeling numb, but also raging. Like I was being held hostage by shared credit history. Fast forward to yesterday. This is where the story actually starts getting terrifying. We were prepping for the annual alumni event for our college. Even though I'm only 20 and still technically a student, I was invited because I helped organize the freshman welcome week. Elijah wasn't an alum. He just insisted on going with me because, and I quote, "I need to make sure you network effectively, Heather." I know, red flag the size of Texas. The event was at this fancy venue downtown. I was wearing this simple black jumpsuit. I felt pretty good about myself. Elijah was wearing a suit he clearly couldn't afford, probably why he needed those $200 withdrawals, NGL. We get there, and I immediately spot Thomas Rogers, 18M. Thomas is a legend, honestly. He's 2 years younger than me, just starting out, and he's one of the bravest people I know. Thomas is this tiny, fierce guy who, despite growing up in a super conservative town, is absolutely unapologetic about who he is. And yesterday, Thomas was wearing the most beautiful, flowing, ivory white dress. Seriously, floor-length, silky, expensive looking. He looked incredible, like a forest sprite who just cashed a fat trust fund check. I ran over to greet him. I was so excited because I hadn't seen Thomas since the spring semester ended. "Me, Thomas, oh my God, you look amazing. Where did you even get that? It's stunning." Thomas, 18M, grinned, doing a little twirl. He was holding a glass of sparkling cider. "Thomas, isn't she gorgeous? It's vintage. I found it at this little place in the city. You know, I just decided F it. Why should the girls have all the fun? And hey, congrats on the gap year. How's apartment life?" Started chatting about classes and the chaos of being LGBTQ+ on a traditionally straight campus. I was telling him about my own journey, the realization that I don't identify as straight, and how empowering it was to finally admit it. This was a private conversation, whispered between us in a slightly quieter corner near the hors d'oeuvres. Suddenly, Elijah appeared right behind my shoulder. I swear he materialized out of thin air. He was holding 2 tiny glasses of white wine. Elijah, Heather darling, I found Professor Davies. He's waiting to speak to you about that internship. Chop chop, we don't want to waste his time. He sounded pleasant, but his grip on my elbow felt like iron. Me? Just a minute, Elijah, I am talking to Thomas. Elijah looked Thomas up and down, taking in the white dress, the sheer confidence. His expression curdled. Elijah, oh, right. The clothing experiment, Thomas, right. Should probably be careful about what you wear, especially in professional settings. You don't want to accidentally give people the wrong idea about your intentions. Thomas' smile evaporated. I saw the immediate shift in his eyes from happy to pure icy defiance. Thomas, my intentions are to look fierce and own the room, Elijah. I think I'm succeeding. Me, Elijah, stop. Thomas looks incredible. Lay off. Elijah leaned in conspiratorially, talking to me like Thomas wasn't standing right there. Elijah, I'm just trying to help him. You know how important presentation is, especially when you're navigating certain identities. He practically spat the last few words out. I just worry about you, Heather. You need positive influences, not people creating unnecessary drama. I saw red. I swear I saw red. Me? Elijah, that's incredibly rude and frankly, none of your business. Back off. Was already tired of him controlling my life, my food logs, my schedule, and now he was trying to police my friends and their clothing choices. The audacity. I pulled my arm away from him hard and Elijah, caught off guard, stumbled slightly, splashing wine onto Thomas's pristine white dress. It was only a few drops, but it was enough. Thomas just stared at the purple stain spreading slowly across the ivory fabric near his hip. Elijah was instantly defensive. Oh my God, I am so sorry. It was an accident. Look, let me get you a napkin. I'll pay for the cleaning. I'll even buy you a new dress. How much was it? $40? $50? Thomas looked up slowly, his eyes narrowing. Thomas, it was over $300 actually. And you're not sorry. You did that because you're a jealous, controlling jerk. The tension in that corner of the room spiked. People were starting to notice. Elijah scoffed, low and mean. Jealous of what? A boy in a slip? You're being dramatic, Thomas. You know, Heather, this is exactly what I meant. Drama always follows these types of people. That was the last straw for me. Gaslighting, disrespecting my friend, insulting his identity, and trying to pull me away. Me? I'm leaving, and Thomas, you're coming with me. Elijah grabbed my wrist again, harder this time. Elijah, you are not leaving. Professor Davies is right there. You need this internship. We have a plan, Heather. You are ruining the plan. Me? Your plan, Elijah. I am done with your plan. Let go of me. I yanked my wrist away, gave a quick, apologetic glance to Thomas, who was already pulling out his phone, probably calling an Uber because he was done with this scene, and I walked out of the venue. I was shaking. Full body shaking, the kind where you feel like your teeth are going to chatter. I got into my beat-up Honda Civic. Thank God I paid the $85 plumber charge last week so I wasn't totally broke, and immediately drove to a nearby Target parking lot, which is where I sat and tried to regulate my breathing. It was 9:30 p.m. I immediately called Maya. Maya, girl, what the fuck happened? Thomas just texted me saying Elijah basically attacked him. Me, he was awful, Maya, just absolutely awful. He stained Thomas' dress and was saying the most toxic stuff about identity. I literally just walked out. I just left him there. Maya, good, that guy is trash. Seriously, the audacity. Me, I know, but Maya, this is the thing that is actually messing me up. I took a deep, shuddering breath, trying to steady myself. My stomach felt like id swallowed a cinder block. Me, when I was pulling out of the venue parking lot, you know I have the Ring doorbell feed on my phone, right? Just to see if packages come? Maya, yeah, me. When I was waiting at the traffic light, a notification popped up on my crack screen. It was a person detecting motion at apartment 3B at our front door. Maya, okay, so maybe a neighbor? Me, no. The timestamp was 9:28 p.m., 2 minutes after I left the event downtown. I quickly tapped the live feed to check who it was, and it was Elijah. He was standing outside our apartment door, unlocking it. There was a silence on the line, punctuated only by the sound of my air conditioning running in the Civic. Me, Maya, the event venue is 45 minutes away from our apartment, even without rush hour traffic. It took me 3 minutes to get into the car and drive away. Maya sounded panicked now. Wait, what? Heather, the math isn't mathing. He was there talking to you and Thomas when you left at 9:25 p.m. How the hell did he get home and unlock the door by 9:28 p.m.? Did he fly? Me, exactly, he didn't fly. I watched the clip again and again in the Target parking lot. He unlocks the door, glances directly into the Ring camera, and walks in. It was absolutely him. His suit, his haircut, everything. Maya, okay, maybe you saw an old clip. Did you check the date? Me, the date was today. The time was 9:28 p.m. Maya, I am losing my mind. Is it possible he has a twin? Or maybe I am remembering it wrong? Maya, no. We're not crazy. That is physically impossible. Even if he had a private helicopter, he couldn't have made that commute in 3 minutes. Me, so if the man I saw walking into our apartment at 9:28 p.m. was Elijah, then who the fuck was the man standing next to me at the alumni event at 9:25 p.m. who spilled wine on Thomas's dress? The realization hit me like a physical blow. I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened. Me, he was there, Maya. He was physically there. He was wearing the exact same suit. He had the same obnoxious cologne. He was touching me. I thought it was Elijah. But if Elijah was home, who was that person? Maya was whispering now, probably because she was pacing her tiny dorm room. Maya, Heather, you need to look closer. Did you check the video again? Are you sure it's the right address? Me, I've watched it 8 times. It's 3B, it's our door. And I'm looking at the photo I took of him at the venue when we arrived at 5:30 p.m. Suits are identical. The hair is identical. I started rambling, my voice getting frantic. I am thinking about all the times he checked in on me, all the times I missed a call and he showed up 5 minutes later, the $200 withdrawals, the obsessive control. He never used to wear an Apple Watch until 2 months ago. He said it was for fitness, but what if it was tracking? Maya, oh my God. Is it possible he has been paying someone to pose as him when he can't be around? A body double? Me? I don't know, Maya, but the whole time I've been living there, I thought I was living with Elijah Gray. What if I've been living with a complete stranger who just looks exactly like him and the real Elijah is somewhere else? I pulled up the Venmo transaction history. I looked at his profile picture. Same guy. I checked the lease details. Signed by Elijah Gray, 25M. Me? This is giving major psychological horror movie vibes. I feel sick. I'm going home. Aya, no, do not go home. You can't go back there if there's someone else in the apartment, or if this guy is actually capable of cloning himself. Where are you? Me, Target parking lot, near the cart return. Maya, stay there, I'm getting dressed, I'm coming to you. Do not hang up. I didn't hang up, but I put the phone on speaker and turned my attention back to the ring footage. I scrolled through the archives. Been so focused on my own life, my job, my identity journey, that I never really paid attention to the mundane details on the feed. And then I saw it. 2 weeks ago on a Saturday morning at 7:00 a.m. I was still asleep. The ring captured a long, continuous clip of a conversation happening just outside the door of 3B. The clip showed the man I thought was Elijah, the one who lived with me and controlled the chore chart, standing outside the door, looking nervous. Walking up to meet him was a third person, a man in a delivery uniform carrying a large, nondescript black suitcase. I grabbed my keys, heart racing, needing to hear the audio, needing to see the exchange. I recognized the voice of my roommate instantly. Roommate voice, did you get the updated schedule? She's going to be out of town for 4 days starting Friday. We need to be perfect during that window. I need to know every single detail. Delivery man voice, yeah man. The date's locked in, but you need to Zelle me the rest of the installment. I'm not doing this for minimum wage. $2,000 minimum, this whole operation is draining. Roommate voice, you'll get the money, don't worry about it. But listen, if you run into Thomas, the one who wears the dresses, you need to follow the protocol we discussed. I don't trust him around Heather. He's trying to influence her, trying to change her. I need to ensure she stays on the right path. Our little neighborhood here, we need to keep it pure. The delivery man nodded, adjusted the strap of the black suitcase, and then the clip ended abruptly. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. The guy who lived with me wasn't Elijah Gray. He was part of an operation. And he was actively monitoring my friendships and my sexuality, the trying to change her comment. And the real Elijah, or maybe even another double, was the one who was at the alumni event, provoking a fight and spilling wine to create a distraction. But if Thomas was part of the threat assessment for the operation, then that meant I needed to warn him immediately. I hung up on Maya, who was still trying to talk me down, and I immediately texted Thomas. Me? Thomas, call me right now. This is urgent. I think the guy we met tonight is stalking me, and I think he has been paying someone else to live with me. His reply came back instantly. Thomas, wait, what? I'm still at the venue, waiting for my Uber, trying to scrub the stain out. What are you talking about, Heather? I'm already dealing with enough drama. Me? I know, but please believe me. I have video proof that the guy who lives at 3B isn't the same guy who was there tonight. And I just found a clip that mentions you. We're talking about following protocol if they ran into Thomas, because they think you're trying to influence me. I could see the 3 little typing dots appear and disappear 3 times. Thomas, okay, this is messed up. I'm going to finish getting out of here. But if they're worried about me influencing you, that means they know I am not scared to call them out. Meet me somewhere public. Do not go back to your apartment. I'm going to meet you at that Starbucks on 7th and Main, the 24-hour one. 4:45 a.m. I need to show you something that happened last week. I didn't think it was important, but now I do. I looked at the time on my phone. 4:15 a.m. I felt a surge of cold terror mixed with pure distilled rage. They had been manipulating my life, my finances, my friendships for months. And they had specifically mentioned wanting to stop Thomas from influencing me, which means they were clearly trying to enforce some kind of conservative, straight, restrictive identity onto my life. I typed back, my fingers flying over the screen. Me, I'll be there. Don't tell anyone else yet. Thomas, got it. See you soon. And Heather, don't look behind you. That text chilled me to the bone, but I had a mission now. I had to meet Thomas, figure out what he knew, and then figure out how to expose this operation publicly. No more quiet diplomacy. It was time for a confrontation. I put the Civic in drive, pulling out of the Target lot, determined to get to the 24-hour Starbucks. I was finally feeling a burst of energy, driven by absolute fury. But as I drove, my phone vibrated. It was a single, anonymous text message. Text, I knew you would call Thomas. You always make the wrong choices. We're ruining the plan. Go home, Heather. Don't make this harder on yourself. We are everywhere. I slammed on the brakes so hard my seatbelt locked. My heart was pounding out of my chest. I looked at the dark street around me, eyes frantically scanning the windows of the closed businesses. How did they know? I just sent that text. And the number was blocked or spoofed or something. I drove the rest of the way with the gas pedal floored, checking my rearview mirror constantly. Every passing car looked suspicious. I got to the Starbucks parking lot at 4:35 a.m. I saw Thomas's Uber pull up a minute later. He got out, still wearing the slightly stained white dress, looking furious and scared. I ran to him and we headed inside, finding a corner booth far away from the barista, who was wiping down counters and looking extremely bored. Thomas slid into the booth opposite me, pulling out his phone. Thomas, okay, tell me everything again. Did you see on the Ring camera? I was already logged back into the Ring app. Me? The guy who lives at 3B, the one who does the chore charts. He was home at 9:28 p.m. The other guy, the one who spilled wine, was still with me at the venue. And look at this clip I just found. I played the clip from 2 weeks ago, the one showing my roommate talking to the man in the delivery uniform about the schedule and protocol regarding Thomas. Thomas listened intently, his expression changing from skepticism to pure, horrified realization. Thomas, oh my God, that's not his voice. Wait, that is not Elijah's voice. The guy who lives with you sounds higher, more nasally. The guy tonight, the one who spilled the wine, had a deeper voice. I remember because I was surprised how deep it was. Me? So there are 3 of them, maybe more, and they're running an operation out of my apartment. Thomas leaned forward, lowering his voice until it was almost a hiss. Thomas, okay, you have to see what I found last week. Remember how I told you that my family was getting really weird about my clothes, telling me I had to change my path? Me? Yeah, you said they suddenly got super religious and controlling. Thomas, I thought it was just them, but I found this. This was pinned to my door last Tuesday, right after the laundry incident. Thomas pulled out his iPhone 14, he had the purple one, and showed me a photo he'd taken. It was a flyer. A really cheaply printed black and white flyer, almost like a community notice. The header, printed in block caps, read, Neighborhood Purity Watch. Below that, there was a paragraph that made my blood run cold. It said, is your neighbor or relative straying from the traditional path? Are they adopting dangerous, liberal, or non-binary lifestyles? They're here to help bring our community back to order, report suspicious activities, and receive guidance. We are already operating in apartment block 3, focusing on young, vulnerable residents who need a clear direction back to traditional values. Contact Operation Shepherd for more details. And right below the contact information, there was a tiny, poorly scanned logo. It was a shepherd's crook, crossed with a sword. Thomas looked at me, his eyes wide with fear. Thomas, the guy in your Ring footage mentioned Operation Shepherd. He said he was going to ensure you stayed on the right path. This isn't just one controlling roommate, Heather. This is some kind of terrifying, fundamentalist neighborhood watch cult that targets people trying to figure out their identities. And they have been watching us both. Me? Oh, you are kidding me. A literal cult? Right out of apartment 3B? Thomas, and look at the back of the flyer. I ripped it off my door and didn't look at the back until I was cleaning the stain. He flipped to the second image on his phone. It was a receipt. A crumpled, grease-stained receipt for a 20-piece McNuggets meal, a large fries, and a Coca-Cola. And on the bottom, under the transaction summary, was the name of the cashier. Elijah G. But the most critical part, the part that made my stomach absolutely seize up, was the time and location. McDonald's was 2,000 miles away from our city, a small franchise located in Westfield, the town where Elijah told me his mother lived. Me? So the real Elijah is working at a McDonald's, thousands of miles away, and this whole time he's been lending his name and maybe his identity to these people so they could rent the apartment and run their little Operation Shepherd on the neighborhood. Thomas took a shaky sip of his coffee. I don't know, Heather. But the person who stained my dress tonight, the person who was harassing you, he's part of this, and he didn't like me talking to you. He looked past me, his eyes widening. Thomas, did you tell anyone you were coming here? Me? Only Maya, but I hung up before I told her where exactly. Thomas pointed a single trembling finger over my shoulder. Thomas, that beat-up Toyota Corolla that just parked across the street, the driver just killed his lights. He's staring right at our booth. I swear that's the guy who was talking to the delivery man in your Ring footage. I felt the blood drain from my face. I didn't dare turn around. I could feel the weight of his stare, heavy and demanding. Me? What do? We have to leave right now. Thomas shook his head, looking determined despite the terror in his eyes. Thomas, no, they think we're weak. They think we're going to run and hide. We have all the evidence we need. The Ring footage, the flyer, the receipt. We need to go public with this. I'm posting the flyer and the full story on every platform I can find. We need to blow up Operation Shepherd before they can do any more damage to anyone else. Me? A public confrontation? Thomas, that guy is watching us right now. He looks dangerous. What if he comes in here? Thomas leaned in, his voice steely. Thomas, then we talk about this in front of him. We tell him we know everything. We have to confront them, Heather, not run. We need to expose their operation in the light, or they will keep running it in the dark. I looked down at my hands, which were shaking violently on the table. My stomach felt like liquid fire. My mind raced, exposure, risk, danger, and the absolute need to reclaim my life from this terrifying, elaborate fraud. I took a deep breath. Me? Okay, Thomas, you're right. Tell me what you saw last week. Give me all the details about that stain, about what the fake Elijah said about me. You need to put together the full story before we hit send. As Thomas started describing the events of the previous week, detailing how the man, who he now realized was probably the same man sitting in the Toyota Corolla, had been doing weird things like checking Thomas's mail and following him to the library, I pulled up the camera app on my phone. I didn't turn around. I simply opened the camera to selfie mode, pretending to fix my hair, and slowly raised the phone until the screen captured the reflection of the street behind me. And there he was. The man from the Ring footage, the man who had been running the operation out of my apartment, sitting in the beat-up Toyota Corolla. He was holding a phone to his ear and his eyes were fixed on our booth. But he wasn't looking at me. He was looking intensely at Thomas. And then I saw the flash. He wasn't on the phone. He was taking our picture. He immediately sent a text, and 3 seconds later my own phone vibrated violently, another anonymous text message coming through, making the target parking lot message look like a friendly reminder. Text, stop talking to him. You are both being recorded. We know what you are planning. You will regret this. Go home now or we will handle this the hard way. My blood ran cold. He knew exactly what we were planning. He was right there. Thomas looked at me, sensing my sudden stillness. What is it? I flipped my phone around, showing him the chilling text, the anonymous threat, and the timestamp that proved it was sent the moment he took our photo. Me? Thomas, he's here. He just texted me, and he knows everything. We can't post this yet. Thomas looked horrified, but then his face hardened. He grabbed his phone and started typing fiercely. Thomas, too late. I'm not waiting. I'm going live. Now, if he wants a confrontation, he's going to get it. And it's going to be public. Me? No, Thomas, wait, don't press send. He's right there. He knows. But before I could physically stop him, Thomas hit post on Instagram and Twitter, releasing the image of the flyer and tagging our college alumni accounts, along with a massive thread detailing the stalking behavior, the multiple identities, and the fact that an Operation Shepherd was targeting students. The moment he pressed the button, the man in the Toyota Corolla threw open his door. He didn't run towards the Starbucks. He ran directly across the street and straight into the back entrance of a closed-up Dunkin' Donuts, which connected to the alleyway behind the Starbucks. And as he disappeared, my phone started ringing. It wasn't the fake Elijah. It was my actual roommate, Elijah Gray, 25M, the one who was supposed to be working at a McDonald's 2,000 miles away. His name was clearly displayed on the screen. I looked at Thomas, horrified. Me? It's Elijah, the real one. Why is he calling me right now? Thomas, don't answer it. This is a trap, Heather. They're trying to separate us. I stared at the ringing phone, my gut screaming at me to run, but my need for answers was overwhelming. I slowly brought the phone to my ear. Me? Hello? A deep, desperate voice came through the line, choked with panic. Elijah Gray, Heather, you need to listen to me. We're in terrible danger. I know you think I'm the problem, but I need you to know I didn't know they were using my name and address this way. I tried to warn you. They took everything, Heather. And now they're coming for Thomas too. You have to leave the city right now. Get out of there. They're going to. The call cut out with a sharp electronic screech. Just static. I looked down at the phone. Battery life, 3%. I looked at Thomas, who was watching the alleyway entrance, eyes wide. He was warning me. He said they were coming for Thomas. Thomas pointed towards the closed kitchen door of the Starbucks. The lock was slowly, loudly clicking open from the inside. Thomas, the guy who ran into the alleyway, he's coming in through the back. We need to leave, Heather. Now. We scrambled out of the booth, heading straight for the front door, but as we reached the counter, two men in matching dark jackets, their faces obscured by baseball caps pulled low, stepped out of the bathroom corridor. They didn't say anything. They just stood there, blocking our exit, staring at us with cold, dead eyes. One of them was holding a manila envelope. The other one had a thick, black leather belt wrapped around his knuckles. I looked back towards the kitchen door. It was swinging open. Walking through, adjusting his suit jacket and smiling a sickeningly pleasant smile, was the man who had been standing next to me at the alumni event only a few hours before, the man who had spilled wine on Thomas' dress and who I now knew was not the real Elijah Gray. He clapped his hands together once, slowly. Fake Elijah. Well, look who decided to meet up. You two are hard to keep track of, Heather. You are definitely ruining the plan. He walked towards us, closing the distance, and the two men in the dark jackets moved in from the sides, trapping us against the counter. I looked at Thomas. He was terrified, but he didn't back down. He straightened his shoulders, pulling his flowing white dress around him like armor. Thomas, we know who you are and we know about Operation Shepherd. We just exposed you to hundreds of people. You're done. The fake Elijah laughed, a smooth, horrible sound. Fake Elijah, you think a little post on the internet will stop us? Sweet child, that's adorable. We manage the narrative, always have, always will. And as for exposure, this whole neighborhood is watching right now, Thomas. They are very invested in your failure to comply. Now give us the phone, Heather, and the flyer. I clutched my phone tighter, my mind racing. The public confrontation was happening, just not on my terms. This was terrifying. I screamed, no. And then the man with the belt lunged towards Thomas. I screamed, no, and everything just went into slow motion, honestly. The guy with the leather belt didn't even look like he was trying to hurt Thomas, not immediately. It was calculated. He was lunging to grab Thomas's phone. Thomas, bless his fierce little heart, wasn't letting go. He twisted his body away from the counter, sending a half-full cup of black coffee flying. It hit the man with the belt right on the chest. Fake Elijah, F.E. as I am calling him now, NGL, shouted, grab the phone, don't let the recording get out. I didn't even think. My survival instincts, which have been dormant for 20 years, suddenly kicked in like a startled batter. I saw the manila envelope in the hand of the second goon, the one blocking the door. I grabbed a fistful of stale sugar packets from the counter and just threw them right into Effie's face. It was totally ridiculous, but it bought us a split second. Effie roared, genuinely surprised. What the fuck, Heather? Thomas used that second. He saw the fire extinguisher mounted on the wall near the closed kitchen door. He didn't hesitate. He grabbed it, yanked the pin, and aimed it right at the goons. A huge cloud of white chemical foam erupted. It hit the first goon, the one with the belt, square in the face. He went down gagging, dropping the belt. The second goon was momentarily blinded. Effie stumbled back, yelling about his suit getting ruined. Thomas grabbed my arm. Run, Gio! We ran straight past the blinded goons and the sputtering Effie, right out the front door. The poor barista, who had been wiping down the pastry case, looked like he was about to have a heart attack. He just stood there holding his rag, watching four people fight over sugar packets and a white dress at 4:47 a.m. We sprinted across the parking lot and dove into my Civic. I slammed the lock buttons down instantly. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely get the key in the ignition. Me, where are we going? Where do we go? They know everything. Thomas was hyperventilating, a little wiping foam residue off his beautiful white dress. Thomas, we need to get to the police station. Right now, we have proof, Heather. We have the flyer, the ring footage, and now we have an attempted assault witnessed by a barista. Me, the police? They'll think we're crazy. Me and I have 3 different men with the same name running a religious neighborhood cult out of my apartment. NGL, that sounds like a movie plot. Thomas, I don't care. We go. If we drive around, they'll catch us. At least at the precinct, we're safe. So I drove. Fast. We blew through 2 yellow lights and probably 1 solid red. I'm pretty sure I saw the beat-up Toyota Corolla pull out of the alleyway behind us, but after a minute, it peeled off in the opposite direction. It didn't want to follow us to the precinct. We got to the station and spent the next 3 hours, from 5:15 a.m. until about 8:30 a.m., trying to explain the situation to 2 very tired, very skeptical officers. I showed them the ring footage of the 2 men talking about Operation Shepherd and the protocol. I showed them the time inconsistency from the alumni event. Thomas showed them the flyer and the McDonald's receipt proving the real Elijah Ari was 2,000 miles away. The officers were polite, but their body language screamed, "This is delusional college drama." Officer Jenkins, 40s, bored. "So you're saying that your former roommate, a Mr. Gray, hired an identity double to live in your apartment, and then hired a second double to confront you at an alumni event, all because you started exploring your sexual identity?" Me, yes. "And they run a literal neighborhood purity watch cult out of my leasehold." Officer Jenkins sighed. "Ms. Brown, identity theft is serious, but we can't arrest a man based on a timestamp that might be faulty, or a cheap flyer with an unverified phone number, or the fact that a man was seen carrying a black suitcase." Thomas, who was still wearing the stained dress and looked totally exhausted, stood up. "Thomas, but they physically attacked us. He lunged at me in the Starbucks. We have witnesses." "Officer Jenkins, we will take a statement from the barista, of course, regarding the assault attempt. But at this point, we can't prove who these men are, or that they are operating a criminal enterprise. We certainly can't prove they are related to the Elijah Gray on your lease. We suggest you focus on breaking your lease legally and securing a new address." This was the biggest letdown. The whole reason we went public was to force a resolution, but the legal system saw us as two hysterical college kids. He took our statements, gave us a generic case number, and told us to call them if anything more substantial happens. In GL, I felt like throwing up out of frustration. Thomas and I left the precinct around 9:00 a.m. We sat on the curb for a minute. "Thomas, so basically we're screwed." Me, "We're not screwed. We just need to stop thinking about this like a crime and start thinking about it like a public scandal. Care about their reputation and their operation. The cops won't help, but the internet will." Thomas nodded, a dark glint in his eye. "The post is already blowing up, Heather. I sent screenshots of the text message threats too. Our college paper picked it up. We have to lean into the exposure." I called Maya. She was furious that I hadn't gone to her place. "Maya, I am literally coming to get you right now. You are not going back to 3B. That lease is dead, Heather. Dead and buried. I don't care about the money. You are moving into my dorm until we find you a safe place." I agreed instantly. I was too tired and too scared to argue. Update. Tuesday morning, 10:30 a.m. It's been 2 days since the Starbucks debacle. I'm crammed into Maya's tiny dorm room, sleeping on an air mattress that deflates slightly every 3 hours. My life is a laptop screen showing bank statements and ring footage and a continuous stream of notifications. Thomas is staying with his sister downtown. He is 100% committed to destroying Operation Shepherd. He started a hashtag, #OperationSheep. It's trending locally. LOL. Okay, maybe not LOL, but you have to appreciate the commitment. The college paper ran a huge story yesterday, complete with the photo of Thomas in the white dress, stain visible in GL, which just adds to the drama, and the alleged harassment from Effie. College administration is losing their minds, but they can't actually do anything because the apartment is off campus. I had to deal with the logistics, which is way more stressful than fighting 3 grown men in a coffee shop, TBH. Logistical nightmare 1, the apartment. I had to get my stuff. I couldn't just walk into 3B alone. I called my older brother, Alex, 28M, who is built like a fridge and works as a personal trainer. I told him a heavily sanitized version of the story. My roommate is a psycho who keeps threatening me and I need to move out today. Alex showed up at 3B at 1:00 p.m. yesterday, armed with 3 friends, ready to move my life into storage. Effie was home. And this time, it was definitely the Effie who lived with me, the high-voiced, nervous, type A1. Effie was in the living room, calmly polishing his laminated chore chart. Looked up, utterly shocked to see my brother and his 3 enormous friends walking in. "Effie, Heather, what is going on? I told you we needed to talk about the plan. You ran out on Professor Davies, and you left the oven dirty. You're ruining the system." Alex didn't even look at him. He just started yanking my dresser drawers out. "Alex, she's moving out. You have 30 seconds to stay out of her way before I call the actual police about the constant harassment." Effie, who had been so aggressive and controlling with me, crumbled instantly in the face of my brother's size. It was a pathetic display. "Effie, harassment, I'm trying to help her. Those texts were a joke, I was just worried. She needs positive influences, Alex, she's going down the wrong path." Alex just stared him down. "The wrong path? She's 20, she's figuring out who she is. The only wrong path here is the one leading out of my sight. Don't contact her again." Less than an hour, we cleared out my room and kitchen belongings. Effie just stood there, scrubbing the same spot on the counter, whispering about the destruction of the plan. It was creepy as hell. As we were pulling the last box out, Effie looked at me, dead serious, and said, "Effie, you think you're A-free, Heather? We know everyone you talk to. We know about your job on Main Street. We will ensure the neighborhood is purified. You can run, but you can't hide from truth." GL, that sent another shiver down my spine. The threat wasn't over. It was just changing shape. Logistical nightmare 2, the money, the utilities bill, the joint bank account, the lease. I realized I couldn't just walk away from the lease. If I did, it'd tank my credit score for years, which I couldn't afford. The lease was in both my name and Elijah Gray's name. I contacted the landlord, Mr. Henderson. He was furious, not about the cult, but about the mess. "Henderson, you owe me this month's rent, Ms. Brown, and if your roommate doesn't pay, it all falls on you." I explained the identity fraud, the stalking, the cult flyer, and the reason I couldn't live there. He just kept saying, "Pay the rent." I tried to break into the joint utility account, but Effie had changed the password, of course. And the $200 withdrawals, they were still happening. Checked the joint account history again, 2 days after moving out, and another $200 was gone, labeled operation supplies. I literally screamed. I called the bank immediately and froze the joint account, which meant I had to argue with the bank manager for 45 minutes, explaining that I was being scammed by a roommate who wasn't actually my roommate, but who was legally bound to the lease. I felt like I was explaining calculus to a 3-year-old. Bank finally agreed to investigate the fraudulent withdrawals, but they said it could take 30 to 60 days. Meanwhile, my personal account was dangerously low. I had to start scraping together money for a new deposit and first month's rent. Thank God Maya's older cousin had a tiny studio available, but the rent was higher than my half of 3B. I am going to be eating ramen and toast until 2027. Phone call revisited. I hadn't stopped thinking about the call from the real Elijah RE that cut out at Starbucks. It sounded so panicked, so sincere. I realized I still had his number stored from when we first signed the lease. I looked it up again, and I saw something I hadn't noticed before. The caller ID was not always the same. The initial numbers I had saved were from an area code in the Midwest, Westfield, where the McDonald's receipt was from. But the number that called me at the Starbucks, the one that cut out, had a local area code. I checked the voicemails. Sure enough, there was a message left right after the call cut out. I put it on speaker for Maya and me to listen. RE voice, stressed, deeper voice. Heather, it's me, Elijah. Please, please believe me. I was desperate. They threatened my mother in Westfield, and they offered me money to use my name and my identity here so they could start Operation Shepherd on the community. First double, the one who lived with you, he was the shepherd. I didn't think they'd target you personally, but they saw your identity shifting, the LGBTQ stuff, and they went full throttle. The guy who was at the alumni event, the one you saw in the ring footage running across the street, that's not the shepherd. That's the enforcer. They are two different people. They just look similar. I only have 10 seconds of prepaid burner time left. I know too much. They're going to find me. Please expose them. I only hope is that Thomas's post works. Get out of the city, they control everything. The message ended abruptly. Maya stared at the phone. The shepherd and the enforcer. This is seriously some dystopian horror show. Me? They recruited the real Elijah, blackmailed him using his mom, and then used his life to run this whole purification scheme right in my apartment. And they were using my money to fund it. NGL, I'm furious. This confirmation, though terrifying, felt like a huge piece of the puzzle. I wasn't crazy. There were 3 men involved, the real Elijah blackmailed victim, the shepherd my roommate, and the enforcer, the one who confronted us. Thomas's revelation and our plan. I met Thomas, now safely relocated to his sister's couch for coffee on Wednesday. He was wearing a dark velvet shirt and looked 100% determined. Thomas, the social media push is working. People are confirming Operation Shepherd exists. I've had 5 different people DM me saying they were approached by men in delivery uniforms asking weird questions about their life choices or questionable neighbors. This thing is bigger than just apartment 3B me, so the neighborhood controversy is exploding. But we still need solid proof that links the fake Elijah Shepherd to the organization legally. Thomas, I have an idea, but it's dangerous. You need to catch the shepherd in the act of threatening us again on something verifiable, not an anonymous text. Me, he already tried to handle this the hard way at Starbucks. I don't want another physical confrontation. Thomas, no physical confrontation. A public, organized, legal confrontation. We have the alumni event this weekend, remember? The second, smaller mixer for students who couldn't make the big dinner. I remembered. I had completely forgotten that little mixer was happening Saturday. Me, we're going back to the event? Are you insane? FE said they know about my job. They know where I live now, probably. Thomas, yes, but they won't expect us to walk right back into the lion's den. We need to force the shepherd and the enforcer to confirm their involvement publicly, in front of faculty and students, now that the whole campus is talking about Operation Shepherd. He explained the plan. It was risky, dramatic, and utterly Thomas. Thomas, we get Maya to record everything on high-quality audio. We send anonymous tips to the dean and Professor Davies telling them we have key information regarding the harassment scandal that will be revealed Saturday night. We force them to show up. I hesitated. I was already exhausted by the terror and the moving and the ramen. But the idea of letting the shepherd continue his gross little purification project, especially after hearing the real Elijah's desperate plea, made me sick. Me? Okay, I'm in, but we are not alone. We are bringing Maya, Alex, and maybe his friends again. Backup is essential. Thomas smiled, cold and sharp. Perfect. This time we control the narrative, Heather. No more running. Fast forward to Saturday night. The alumni mixer I dressed carefully, not the black jumpsuit this time. I wore simple jeans and a black turtleneck, trying to blend in, which felt totally antithetical to the journey I was on, but safety first, NGL. Thomas, however, was in full defiant mode. He was wearing a different dress this time, a deep emerald green silk gown. He looked utterly spectacular. The mixer was in a smaller, glass-walled conference room on campus. About 30 people were there, mostly faculty and department heads, plus a few students who were trying to network. He arrived with Maya and Alex. Maya had a small recording device pinned to her lapel, which she swore was hidden well. Alex stood near the entrance, looking large and menacing. Within 10 minutes, the atmosphere changed. Professor Davies, the man FE was trying to get me to meet before the wine incident, spotted us and walked straight over. He looked deeply uncomfortable. Professor Davies? Heather, Thomas, I'm glad you came. I've been getting some very strange emails and calls regarding this Operation Shepherd business. It's highly inappropriate. Me? Professor, that's exactly why we're here. We need to clear the air about the harassment and the individual who targeted us. The door opened. In walked the shepherd, the high-voiced roommate. He was wearing a slightly less expensive suit than the enforcer had worn, but he had the same smug, controlling air. Scanned the room, spotted us clustered together, and his smile evaporated. He walked straight toward us, bypassing the appetizer table entirely. Shepherd, Heather, I didn't think you had the audacity to show up here. You know what you did, me? I know exactly what I did, Elijah. I left your cult, froze my bank account, and exposed your operation. Shepherd, you are delusional. I am trying to help you. We have invested months into your path, ensuring you remain a productive member of society. This talk of cults is libel. I suggest you stop talking about Operation Shepherd right now, or you will face the consequences. He was whispering, but aggressively. He glanced nervously at Professor Davies. Thomas stepped forward, his green dress shimmering. Thomas, too late. We already posted the proof. We know you used the identity of the real Elijah, who you blackmailed, to run your neighborhood purity watch. Targeted us because we represent something you hate, people finding their own identity and resisting your restrictive, pathetic values. Shepard scoffed, turning toward Professor Davies, trying to regain control. Shepard, Professor, ignore them. They are unstable. I am Elijah Gray, I am a model citizen, and they are trying to ruin my life because I tried to set healthy boundaries about their lifestyle. Before Professor Davies could even respond, the door opened again. And walking in, flanked by another burly man in a suit, presumably more operation muscle, was the enforcer. The man who had spilled wine on Thomas. The man who texted me at Starbucks. The one who had the deep voice. Enforcer, you need to shut up, Shepard, you're losing control. He walked right past the professor and the other faculty, focusing entirely on Thomas and me. Me? Oh look, the other Elijah showed up. Which one of you is going to pay for the $200 you stole this week for operation supplies? The enforcer stepped right up to me, close enough that I could smell his cologne. I forced myself not to flinch. I was shaking, but I stayed put. Enforcer, you think you're so smart, Heather. You think calling us out publicly solves anything? We told you we manage the narrative. We know exactly where you're sleeping now. We know where you work. Leaned in, his voice dropping low, mean, and utterly terrifying. Enforcer, you want a confrontation, you get a confrontation. You are destroying everything we worked for. We need to make an example out of you and Thomas, right here, right now, so the other vulnerable people in the neighborhood know what happens when they stray. This was it. He was openly admitting the whole thing, the targeting, the community control. Maya, positioned slightly behind Alex, was filming everything. Professor Davies, pale and horrified, finally stepped in. Davies, Mr. Gray, both of you, I think you need to leave immediately. This behavior is unacceptable. The enforcer ignored him completely. He stared at Thomas, his eyes radiating pure hatred for the beautiful green dress. Enforcer, we are getting back on schedule, Thomas. You specifically need to be taught a lesson about presentation and respect for tradition. He raised his hand. Alex moved instantly, stepping between the enforcer and Thomas. Alex, take another step and I'm calling the police right now. They already have a case number on file regarding the harassment. You step away from my sister and her friend. The enforcer paused. He looked at Alex, calculating the size difference, calculating the number of witnesses. He clearly didn't want to get arrested in front of the college dean, who had suddenly appeared behind Professor Davies. Shepard, meanwhile, was frantically pulling the enforcer's arm. Shepard, this is wrong. This is not the protocol. We were supposed to maintain plausible deniability. Enforcer snarled at him. Shut up, she exposed us. We go hard or we lose the whole neighborhood. The dean stepped forward, clearly having heard enough. Dean Harris, 70s, very proper. Gentlemen, I don't care who you are or what identity you are using. This is a university event. We're threatening students on university grounds. You are both banned from campus immediately, and we will be cooperating fully with any police investigation regarding this Operation Shepard. Your names and photos will be circulated to campus security and the local precinct. Leave now. This was a victory, but a fragile one. The enforcer and the Shepard exchanged one final, venomous look with Thomas and me. Enforcer, this isn't over, Heather. You will regret this public stunt. Turned and walked out, the Shepard still panicking about the protocol, and the enforcer radiating cold, lethal fury. The aftermath and the deep dive, we stayed at the mixer for another hour, answering questions from the professor and the dean. They were horrified, and finally, they were listening. The dean promised a full university-wide internal investigation into whether any students or faculty had been coerced or targeted by Operation Shepard. Thomas was shaking when we finally left. Thomas, my legs feel like spaghetti, NGL, but we did it. We forced them to admit it. Me, you were incredible, Thomas. I honestly thought I was going to throw up all over the dean's loafers. But that moment when the Shepard and the enforcer argued, that was the key. They confirmed there are two of them and that they are part of an organized operation. 2 days later, Sunday and Monday, I spent the weekend feeling manic. I couldn't sleep, but I was also buzzing with adrenaline. Aya kept me sane. We ordered pizza, and she helped me go through the evidence, organizing the timeline and creating a comprehensive file for the police and the college. We had the ring footage, the original anonymous texts, the RE voicemail, the flyer, and now Maya had a clear audio recording of the confrontation where they explicitly mentioned Operation Shepard and making an example. On Monday, I finally contacted a lawyer. The $300 consultation was painful, but worth it. Lawyer advised me to immediately send a certified letter to both the landlord and the legal entity, Elijah Gray, 25M, declaring the lease void due to the uninhabitable environment created by illegal and dangerous activities being conducted on the premises. She said the evidence of stalking and fraud was strong enough to protect my credit score, but getting the stolen money back from the joint account would be hard. I also finally called the McDonald's in Westfield, Indiana, the location on the back of Thomas's flyer. I asked to speak to Elijah Gray. The voice on the phone was the exact voice from the voicemail, the deep, desperate one. The real Elijah. Ari, who is this? How did you get this number? Me, this is Heather Brown. I was your roommate in 3B. I know about Operation Shepard. I listened to your voicemail. Are you safe? There was a long silence, full of static and what sounded like the hiss of a deep fryer. Ari, I don't know if I'm safe. I quit the McDonald's last night. I'm on a bus right now. They found out I contacted you. They took everything, Heather. My identity, my savings, everything. The Shepard, that guy is psycho. He's been doing this for years in different cities. They target people who are young, in transition, people like you and Thomas, who they think are straying from God's path. They monitor you, they track you, and they slowly take over your life and finances to fund their operation. Me, but why you? Why your identity? Ari, I'm vulnerable. I have zero family support other than my aging mom, and she's sick. They paid me a retainer, but mostly they blackmailed me. They said if I didn't let them use my identity for the lease, they would ruin my mom's reputation in her conservative retirement community. They said they would expose things about my own past. Needed a clean slate, a model citizen identity to start the operation in your block. I felt a surge of genuine pity for the real Elijah. He was just a victim too, albeit one who enabled the scheme. Me? I'm so sorry. Thomas and I are fighting back. We went public. We have audio proof of them admitting to Operation Shepherd. Ari? Good. You have to destroy them, Heather. They operate on fear and secrecy. I tried to warn you before, but they track everything. $200 withdrawals that goes to the enforcer, who manages logistics and surveillance. That's how they knew you were at Starbucks with Thomas. Me? They're using the money to pay the enforcer. And he's tracking us? Ari? Yes. They use an encrypted app that links to the Ring camera feed, and they put a tracker in your old Honda Civic's ignition system. That's how they always knew exactly where you were when you missed a call. They were tracking the car. I went cold. 27 missed calls when I had a flat tire. The constant checking in. They weren't just worried about the lease. They were tracking my movements always. I was sickened by my own naivety. Me? I sold the Civic yesterday. I got enough for a cheap bus pass and a down payment on a used scooter. I am done with cars, NGL. Ari actually laughed, a rough, genuine sound. Ari? Good, be safe, Heather. I'm going off grid for a while. I've given you all the information I can. Please, if you find a way to expose them legally, use my statement. Tell them I was blackmailed and that I want my name back. The line went dead. A week went by where I was constantly looking over my shoulder. The fallout was real. My life wasn't a movie. It was a slow, terrifying slog of paperwork and paranoia. The lawyer's letter went out. Dean called to say both the shepherd and the enforcer were officially trespassed from campus, and the college was issuing a warning to all students about Operation Shepherd. The college community rallied hard around Thomas. He got massive amounts of support from the LGBTQ+ community, and a local clothing designer offered to replace his stained white dress with a bespoke piece. I felt a surge of pride for him, honestly. Me? I was still recovering. I kept having flashbacks to the Starbucks confrontation. I moved into the shoebox studio Maya's cousin offered, which required me to sign a 12-month lease I really couldn't afford. But it was safe. It was only 350 square feet, but it had a lock that I controlled. I was working overtime at the coffee shop, trying to make up for the financial hit, but I kept seeing shadows, kept feeling watched. My identity journey, the whole reason I took the gap year, was suddenly thrust into the spotlight because of this mess. I had to face the reality of my sexuality in the face of literal fundamentalist threats. I realized that the shepherd's goal wasn't just to control my finances, it was to keep me repressed and straight. The whole right path thing. I had always avoided conflict about my identity. I hadn't told my parents yet. This entire situation forced me to confront the fact that I was ready to own who I was because the alternative was being controlled by others. The final act of public confrontation, the biggest setback, happened last Friday. The police called. The barista who witnessed the Starbucks incident had suddenly gone quiet. He was refusing to cooperate with the investigation. Surprise, surprise, Operation Shepherd got to him. Lawyer said that without a witness and without the shepherd admitting to the fraud, which he wasn't going to do now, our case was going to hit a wall. We needed one final, undeniable public strike. Thomas and I agreed that we needed to force the landlord's hand and use that leverage to pressure the police. We went to the apartment block on Saturday afternoon, not 3B, but the main entrance. We had a small, organized protest. Thomas, myself, Maya, Alex, and about 10 supportive students from the campus LGBTQ+ center. Thomas was wearing the new emerald green dress, holding a sign that read, Operation Shepherd RUNS here. I had a sign listing the exact amount of money stolen from my joint account, $1,800 stolen by fake Elijah. We were entirely peaceful, just holding signs and handing out copies of the college's official warning notice. Within minutes, the neighbors came out. Some were curious, some were furious at the disturbance. And then, walking toward us from the parking lot was the shepherd. He looked tired and enraged. Shepherd, you are disturbing the peace? This is slander. I told you, Heather, you will regret this. Me? We have the proof, Shepherd. We have the audio of your enforcer admitting to Operation Shepherd. We have the real Elijah's statement. We're running a fraudulent, dangerous organization out of an illegally secured apartment. Your lease is void. He started to walk toward me, looking menacing, ready to snatch the sign. Thomas stepped forward, holding the emerald dress up like a cape. Thomas, don't touch her. We are being filmed by 3 different people right now. And guess what? We already sent the full evidence packet to the local news station. They are waiting for us to confirm your identity. This was a bluff. Hadn't contacted the news yet. We were waiting for the right moment. But the shepherd didn't know that. He stopped dead. The idea of mainstream media exposure scared him more than the police. His operation depended on maintaining a facade of respectable neighborhood purity. Shepherd, whispering, furious, you are destroying lives, Thomas. You are infecting this community with your perversions. Thomas, no, you are destroying lives with your control. I am an influence, not an infection. I am done letting you police me or my friends. The shepherd stood there for a minute, completely defeated. He looked around at the small crowd of students, at Alex, at Maya's camera, at me standing defiant in my plain clothes, holding the sign with the stolen amount. He realized he had lost the narrative completely. He turned, walked back toward 3B, unlocked the door, and slammed it behind him. That was the last time I saw him. Resolution, sort of that afternoon, we got the call. Mr. Henderson, the landlord, caving to the public pressure and the clear evidence of illegal activity, terminated the lease on 3B, citing immediate breach of contract due to criminal enterprise. He said he would be changing the locks immediately and filing an eviction notice against Elijah Gray, 25M, based on the identity fraud. I was free of the lease. My credit score was saved. The police investigation, however, fizzled out. Shepherd and the enforcer, knowing they were exposed locally, disappeared. They emptied the apartment, leaving behind only the laminated chore chart, which I still have, NGL, as a bizarre trophy. The stolen $1,800 from the joint account was never recovered, categorized by the bank as a dispute between tenants, which, whatever. I lost the money, but I gained my freedom. 3 months later, where we are now, it's been 3 months since the Starbucks fight and the neighborhood protest. I'm still in the shoebox studio, still eating ramen, but I'm okay. More than okay, actually. I feel lighter. I changed my number, my email, and my social media security settings. I still check my rearview mirror too often, but the paranoia is fading. I've been going to a campus LGBTQ+ support group. I'm finally talking about my identity realization without the suffocating pressure of a fake roommate and his conservative cult trying to fix me. I feel like I finally have space to exist as the person I am discovering myself to be. Thomas and I are genuine friends now. We talk daily. He is truly thriving. College is using his story in their orientation materials as a cautionary tale about safety and harassment, and he is working with the dean to ensure more protections for students exploring their identities. He is still wearing incredible dresses, unapologetically, and looks fierce every single day. The real Elijah, Ari, sent me an email a month ago from a new, secure account. He's safe, working a new job far away, slowly trying to clear his name and his credit history. He apologized again for his part in the scheme, and I believe him. He was a victim too, forced into an awful position. Operation Shepherd seems to have packed up and moved. We still get random messages from people in other cities asking if we know anything about the group, confirming they're still running similar schemes elsewhere. We report what we know, but without the legal resources, it's hard to follow the trail. The controversy exploded locally, but the fight against organized stalking and conversion tactics is an ongoing battle in GL. I realized something profound through all this mess. I spent so long running from conflict, trying to be agreeable, and worrying about the plan, Elijah's plan, the college plan, the straight life plan, that I forgot I was allowed to set my own boundaries. Biggest character development I went through wasn't realizing I was queer. It was realizing I had the right to tell someone who was suffocating me to back off. I still have a massive amount of debt from the unexpected move and the stolen $1,800, and my therapist appointment last week cost $150, which is rough. I still have the occasional panic attack when I hear an unexpected knock at the door. I'm not suddenly fixed. Yesterday, Maya and I were watching a terrible reality show, and I burst out laughing so hard I almost choked on my ramen. It was the first truly uninhibited laugh it had since the Starbucks incident. I realized I didn't need a perfect, resolved ending. I had my community, I had my safety, and I finally had my space. The neighborhood controversy was terrifying, but it forced me out of the shadows. Yesterday, I bought a new lock for my ridiculously small front door. Solid steel, complicated, and cost way too much money. But when I finally secured it, I felt this overwhelming rush of peace. My door, my rules. Anyway, that's the update. Don't let anyone control your chore chart, your finances, or your identity. And if a guy insists on laminating every rule, run. Seriously, we'll update if anything else insane happens.